Oh, happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to my show where it really is okay to not be okay. I'm Ray Bonney, a qualified counsellor, workplace mental health specialist, and not to mention a very dedicated and oftentimes enthusiastically disruptive men's issues advocate. It's not every girl's dream job, but hey, men also matter. And Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2020 and to the start of another decade. But before anything, I'd like to acknowledge all those affected by the Australian bushfires and also highlight the instinctively compassionate, caring, kind and generous spirit of the human nature. Anyway, as always on my show, I'm unwrapping one of the greatest gifts going around, and that is people. Layer by layer, we explore the thoughts, experiences, achievements and challenges of ordinary people bound to inspire the best version of you. So turn up your radio. The time is just 32 minutes past 10. We just heard from the beautiful and talented Michelle Ciccardo presenting her very popular Italian program, Fantastica. That's not what it's called. I just said that's fantastic in Italian. Now, musical theatre. Its magic combines singing, acting and dancing to project emotion and joy and inspiration to the world. Front of mind for many, though, are the colourful cast members dancing a whirlwind spectacle where we often forget the many others like roadies, costume designers, composers and stagehands. The list of production workers is extensive and exhaustible. Now, in 2015, health promotion charity Entertainment Assist released startling facts from a research project in association with Vic University called Working in the Australian Entertainment Industry. Some of the stats highlighted, and this is based on Australia's general population, suicide attempts are more than double in this industry. Levels of moderate to severe anxiety symptoms are 10 times higher and levels of depression symptoms are 5 times higher. Conversely, though, workers expressed an overwhelming passion for their industry, and this is a powerful and positive attitude that genuinely keeps the industry alive. Last year, I met 2 theatrical superstars, 11-year-old Flynn Turner, who just played the role of Aladdin in his primary school production, and Will Centurion, an accomplished veteran also, who amongst many others performed in Walt Disney's Aladdin. Then I came up with the amazing idea of connecting the 2 of these superstars on radio for a bit of an Aladdin off. Now, both are almost salivating into their mics here at 3WBC. So without further ado, I welcome them both to the studios of 94.1 FM, 3WBC. And here's a little bit of an applause for that. Is everyone clapping into the... There we go. Fantastic. Do you know what I realised? Welcome to the show, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely thrilled to be here.
Will and Flynn, a little voice and a big voice. One of my skills in radio does not include getting anything technical happening that's outside of speaking into a mic. So I did have a bit of a round of applause that I picked off the internet from a production of Aladdin on this day in California 4 years ago.
Wow.
And if I can get it going during the show, but I remembered I didn't connect my my Wi-Fi. So therefore, in the break, remember that I have to connect to my Wi-Fi. How are you feeling?
Nervous.
You don't sound nervous, Flynn.
I am a bit nervous.
Okay, well, first of all, let's hit it off. How do we know each other?
Well, we met each other at a party.
How many Shirazes had I had at that stage? Your mum was buying them, so...
I do not know.
Now, we did meet at a party, and it was a very special party because it was the celebration of an organisation called the Fatherhood that another friend of mine, Jeremy McVean, and he's also a friend of your mum's because they met at Movember. And it was the launch of the Fatherhood, which is an organisation that supports the well-being and great work that dads do all over the world. And that's where we met. But I also met your mum about 20-odd years ago when we worked together. So thank you for coming on the show.
No problem.
And you did play Aladdin last year in your school production, didn't you?
Yep.
And what else? Did you receive an award?
Yes, I did. I received the Performing Arts Award.
And you're also going to be sport captain next year? Or school captain?
I was house captain
last
year. And, well, we didn't do much because usually the first semester is mainly the big captains, but I don't really care.
Good. Bit of a high achiever. We're going to delve a little bit more into how you got to play Aladdin in this particular show, but also wanting to formally introduce my friend, my colleague, my supporter, the person that has my back many, many times, Will Centurion.
Hello.
And great applause as well.
Thanks for that, Flynn.
No problem.
Now, Will, you and I met through the entertainment industry and the work that I've been doing around mental health with Entertainment Assist. And you connected with me with a question earlier in the year about how you could help also make a difference.
I did. I reached out to you via LinkedIn. I exercised one of my philosophies, which is the art of asking. And I sort of put myself out there and said, hey, we're both kind of working in the same line of work. Can we tee up and potentially maybe do something together?
And then we did.
And then we did.
And we will talk about that later on in the show. But you have a list of accolades that is, quite extensive in terms of your work in live performing and musical theatre, which you call it, including Aladdin. Mm-hmm. But what are some of the other ones?
So all up, it was about 20 years performing in music theatre. That kind of included 8 years abroad and the rest of the time here in Australia. In that time I did We Will Rock You, A Chorus Line, West Side Story, The Lion King, The King and I, Aladdin, In the Heights, Aida, and there's probably a few more that I can't remember right now.
Do you have a favourite one?
They meant so many different things, but I think A Chorus Line was amazing because we just got to be ourselves. We got to be performers who sort of want to make it in the industry and are striving to be seen and to be heard. But then in saying that, culturally, I loved In the Heights because it was very close to my background, which is South American. So I loved being in a show that had to do with the Latin American culture.
Well, that makes sense. And for Flynn, was Aladdin the first production that you had performed in?
Yes, it was.
So nothing else before that?
Nope.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about how you made that happen.
Well, at first I was Prince Abdullah, and
Were you selected for that?
Yeah, I got selected for that, but I was a little disappointed because I didn't get a big part. But then, after a few weeks, the other Aladdin didn't want to do it, so we swapped roles, and I became Aladdin.
So did you have to audition?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and so you just put a bit of poison into his Vegemite sandwiches and he got knocked out? Is that how that happened?
Well, he didn't want to do it.
He didn't actually come and say no to that at all?
He didn't want to do it because he had to sing a solo song and he was scared to do that.
Okay.
So I did it instead.
So how did you get selected as the backstop?
Well, I think it's because they thought I was really good at acting and I was good at singing.
Well, you're very good on radio. Your voice is fantastic. It's very confident, isn't it, Will?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know you've got a lot of people listening in. I posted this on Facebook yesterday and your family and friends and community just went gangbusters. So we might give a shout out to a few people later. But what inspired you to even audition for Aladdin?
Well, I wanted to be the monkey at first, but then I realised there was no monkey. So then I just became
right.
Prince Abdullah, but then I became Aladdin and I just did what I wanted to do.
But why choose a musical to appear in rather than play footy or cricket or something like that?
Well, I do play footy and basketball, and I was Aladdin as well. But I think they chose me to be Aladdin because I'm energetic and I would memorise all my lines quickly.
Ah, what is that like for you, Will, in terms of when Flynn's talking about memorising lines? Does that get easier or harder as you get older?
Oh, I think it gets harder as you get older. Yeah, I've definitely had some moments where I've blanked on stage, or if you are a swing or an understudy and you might get some scenes confused. So yeah, it's definitely one of the challenging parts of being a performer.
Was it hard for you, Flynn?
The first one was really nervous. Second one was okay. Third one, I got actually more nervous than any of them because there was more people and my mum and dad were in the front row.
Oh, gosh, and, your mum's got those eyes that you just want to get everything right.
What I did was I didn't look at, like, much people. I just looked at, like, the camera crew and stuff. So I don't get nervous.
Wow, that's a really good strategy, isn't it? To
Yep.
look at the camera crew. It's impressive that there was a camera crew there and not just one camera person.
Well, there was just a camera person, but I was looking at, like, the tech team up above. I was looking at them.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Is that something that you would do, Will?
I guess no. I think when I'm on stage, or now looking back, I think it was always about sort of being in the moment and being present, and not sort of getting distracted by audience or friends or what you're going to have for lunch. So yeah, it's just about sort of being grounded and anchored in what you're actually doing and connecting to the other people that are on stage with you.
Well, there's a question. Have either of you had an experience of somebody in the audience who tries to distract you?
Well, with mine, 5 of the boys actually booed. Well, it sucked for them. They all had to write an apology to the whole of Year 4. So it sucked to be them.
Yeah, it would. But what did that feel like when you were on stage?
Well, I didn't find out until they actually wrote the note and came to us. I didn't find out. And I was really mad at first, but it got off my shoulder.
Yeah. What did that mean to you? What do you think was going through their mind when they decided to boo you?
Well, once I found out, I was really mad, and
you've got a bit of redhead in you, so it's triple that by the normal person.
Yes. Well, when I found out, I was mad, but like they all had to write an apology, and I know one of them called Kai. I don't think he meant to do it. I think he just was telling the boys what the next scene was. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, but still, perhaps jealousy, maybe.
Maybe.
Sometimes
and
people.
if they don't get a part, well, ha.
Well, that's a bit bad sportsmanship. We'll just move on from that, Flynn.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But conversely, what does it feel like when the crowd is cheering you?
Really happy, actually. Like, when, at the end, we all come, like, skipping in, and when the main parts come in, everyone screams so loud, and it just feels good.
Well, it would. Is that the same for you, Will?
Yeah, it's so important for the audience to sort of go on the journey with us. I think maybe they underestimate how much their reciprocation impacts on us as performers. When you come out to a theatre and it's a quiet crowd, generally on a Saturday or Sunday matinee, it's a lot harder to sort of get over that hump. But then when they're there with you and they respond and they're vocal about it, it's really motivating and inspiring.
Yes. The baseline for what we're really speaking about today is around mental health in the entertainment industry, not only for the people that are working in the entertainment industry, but also for the consumers of entertainment. And, I guess that's one of the major focuses of entertainment is to bring people joy and happiness and excitement. And so it works both ways. So, but we quite often forget about the people that are on the stage behind the cameras, what their experience is like. And Flynn, was there ever a time when you felt like you didn't want to continue acting in this production?
Well, I don't know, really.
You do? Because I just distracted you with a gesture and you lost your train of thought.
Well, when I was backstage, I wasn't backstage, I was doing my thing, my acting, and I've realised I didn't have the bread for something, so I had to, it makes it part of the show. I would go backstage, grab the bread, put it in, yeah. So
you had to improvise, did you?
Yeah, it was pretty hard, but we got it there in the end.
Nobody noticed though, did they?
I think some of them noticed, but
that's part of it, part of that
it's
whole
live theatre.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much improvisation goes on, Will, do you think, generally?
Oh, there's no sort of take five and we'll just pick up the pieces. It's the ball keeps rolling. So
Yes.
you've just got to improvise and just keep your wits about you and try to get back on track. And it's a challenge.
Well, I experience it every time I do get on radio, as you both saw earlier on in this show when I forgot to connect my Wi-Fi and nothing worked, but the show just goes on, doesn't
That's
it?
right.
Yep.
It just goes on. And, improvisation. I was speaking to one of my friends the other day about the movie called The Party with Peter Sellers. Very famous movie. It's a 1960s, I think it was 60s or 70s it was produced, but most of that was improvised.
Wow. Okay.
And Peter Sellers, for that generation, who knows who I'm speaking about, was the master of improvisation. Yes, and a bit of a chameleon. Now, Flynn, if you just pop those down, because every time you pick up your headphones, I can hear it through my headphones, which means our audience can hear it. Now, Will, you've got a few questions for Flynn yourself.
Yeah, I do actually. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, I might sneeze along the way, but I'll just go to the side.
You go for it. It just adds something to the whole production.
Okay.
So I guess my first question, Flynn, is what made you want to perform, or what inspired you to want to be on stage?
Well, I knew it would be a challenge because we only had one term left, not even. But I wanted to do it so I could learn to act. So, because I was a small part, but then I wanted to have a bigger part. So I became a bigger part, and it inspired some people to be like me because I knew a few people like loved it. Yeah.
What a great answer.
Yeah.
That was, fantastic. That's inspirational in itself.
So it was about sort of growth, and it was about meeting your full potential, and it was about being able to develop.
Yep.
Great.
Tell me, in those moments, and this is for both of you a bit as well, the scariest moment, the proudest moment, and the funniest moment when you almost wet your pants.
Okay, I'll tell you mine first.
Yes.
So the funniest moment was probably when my friend Zaid, we were like performing the last one, and he forgot one of his lines, and he was like, "It doesn't matter," and then we just kept on going, and everyone laughed. The most proudest moment was probably when I sang my solo song,
What song was that, Flynn?
"Proud of You Boy,"
I know I've got that on my iTunes list, actually.
and the most embarrassing moment was probably when I had to sing A Whole New World.
Did that not go well?
It went well. The first one I stubbed my toe. Nobody saw it, but it's embarrassing.
So is that like when they say break a leg, you just took it one step further and stubbed your toe?
I think so. But I think it was embarrassing because I just like to sing like with lots of people, not just one other person, and yeah, just...
Good answer. I wish I would have come to see it. I saw the photos. It looked spectacular.
Yep.
You also wanted to know who Flynn's idols are as well, apart from Will Centurion, of course, who is your idol now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, good.
From about 5 minutes ago. Yeah. Yeah, Flynn, I wanted to know who inspired you, or who you look up to in terms of performing.
Well, I actually didn't know much people at acting, but now that I know you, I'm inspired by you.
Good answer. Really good answer.
And if you could play another role, obviously you're a leading man, you like that one, but
Yep.
do you have a character that you'd like to play?
The monkey or the genie?
In Aladdin?
Right.
Oh, there's no monkey in Aladdin, though, you said that.
No.
Well, there is in the movie, so technically...
Right, okay. So there could be a monkey. So if you were going to produce it, you'd put a monkey in it.
Yeah.
Bit of poetic license there. Could I be in it?
Peanuts.
And also, there's a tiger, but it became a person, so I would be the tiger as well.
So is that common, you'd know more about this, Will, for people to play more than one role in a stage musical?
Well, if you're a principal, you generally have your role to look after.
Yes.
Sometimes some supporting roles might sort of double up. So you may play a couple of parts. But if you are an understudy or if you are a swing, then it's your responsibility to kind of learn all of those roles.
A swing as opposed to a swinger.
Yeah. A stage swing.
Yes.
Then it's your responsibility to have all of those roles under your belt in case you get thrown on at the last minute.
Ah. Well, was that the same for your production?
Well, we actually didn't have understudy, so we had to do it no matter what.
So even if you were sick?
Well, I don't know, actually. If you were sick, I don't actually know.
Well, I guess nobody got sick. Was there a time when you really needed to go to the toilet?
I don't know, actually. I think I did need to go to the toilet a few times, but I just held it.
It's my number one question for anyone in production. Was there a time when you were busting for the toilet?
Everyone had to do it no matter what. Like, there was for Prince Ali, there was a group. For One Jump, there was a group. Friend Like Me, a group. And Arabian Nights, a group. And there was also for the Little Songs, some groups as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. In fact, on that Arabian Nights thing, do either of you know the origin of the story of Aladdin?
I think he's a thief that steals everything, and then he meets the princess, pretends to be someone. Well, he actually meets the genie, and he asks to be a prince.
Yes.
He promises on his third wish he'll let him free, but he doesn't.
Yep.
But in the end, he does, and he just becomes Aladdin.
Well, the origin of the story, where it actually comes from, is that many think that it's from 1001 Nights.
Yeah, it's a series of stories, isn't it?
But it wasn't part of the original series. So a guy by the name of Antonio Galland, I think that's his name, back, I think in the early 18th century, he heard this tale from a guy in France. And he really liked it, so he added it to his collection.
Oh, wow.
And that's how it became part of the collection, but it ended up becoming the most famous story of it. But it wasn't originally part of the original manuscript. Yeah.
And there is a place called Arabian.
Yes.
There's an Arabian desert, so I think he got off Arabian Nights from, the Arabian desert.
Well, it actually originated also in China.
Wow.
So
I did not know that.
The thing that you also don't know about me, Flynn, is when I do a show, I research it. So I didn't know any of this before probably about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I'm a quick study. Also, I would like to know what it felt like for you being in the production, and if you could change anything around how the people that managed you or the production people, what would you change? Does that make sense?
Well, sort of. I would like to keep the friends and also get a monkey. And also keep the people for Jasmine, but also get a tiger.
Okay, so the monkey seems to be ever present in your narrative. So if I ever had to buy you a present, I know exactly what I'd get you. But I'd get you a real monkey.
Yeah.
My mum wouldn't like that.
No.
I'm sure she
Lots
would.
of maintenance.
Be like having another child and your mum needs another child. I can hear her laughing in the green room already. What advice would you give, Flynn, to other boys and girls, not ones that you know, but ones who are listening in now, if they were interested and inspired by your story?
Well, if you're ever on stage and you have a big part, I would suggest sometimes don't go on your iPad, practice your lines, and if you get nervous, just try and make some stuff up. And, you have to improvise and try not to look at your parents, otherwise you get more nervous.
Good advice. Good, solid advice.
Get a monkey.
Get a monkey.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
What about you, Will?
I would say it is about trying. It's not about being perfect. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there because you never know what you're going to discover. And just try your best and remember to have fun while you're doing it.
I think fun is the baseline too, isn't it? Because if you're having fun, that's as good as anything. Mm-hmm. In fact, I do a bit of performing myself. And I was performing in the middle of last week presenting to the Central Blackburn Probus Group. And I really loved them instantly because the organising person came out and he said to me, we weren't expecting anyone so young.
Fabulous.
And I went, you are number one. Thank you very much. And, you know, I do speak about mental health, so it's not always a topic that people are feeling ultimately comfortable about. And but I did manage to get more than 10 laughs during the session, so I was very, very happy. But, you know, if you have laughter, if you have enjoyment, then that just trumps everything. As you said, we don't always have to get it right.
Yep, and another funny part for me was my friend Lockie. He was one of my friends, Kasim, and also Babkak and Omar, which is Alistair and Kaylin.
Oh, so are they the characters' names?
Yeah, they're friends
Instead of the monkey.
Right, because I've never read the story.
So Omar's funny for, like, when I say, I steal, I don't want, I can't afford, and he's just like, and that's everything, and everyone, like, it's funny. With Babkak, he's like, I forgot what he said, but it's like, falafel, did someone say falafel? And that's a funny part as well. And also my friend Lockie, when we're doing Babkak, Omar, Aladdin, Kasim, which is a song, he was like pointing at someone random and he was like, grow up, and it was just funny.
Do you have a bit of chat after the show between your mates about what worked and what didn't work?
Well, no, not really, but the teachers did talk to us, so yeah.
So you don't go to your mate, go, oh, you messed that line up and, you know, do better next time?
I don't want to do that. It's mean.
Well, can I ask you to put your drink bottle down as well, because that's causing a lot of noise in my headphones.
Sorry.
You don't need to say sorry, just don't do it again.
Okay.
We're heading to our first break, can you believe it? We only have two. We've
Time
already
flies.
half an hour into what is an hour and a half show, so please stay with us. We're here until midday today, and we've got a lot more in the show coming up. But moving into our first break, we do have a song from Aladdin, and this is one performed by Robin Williams,
You will know it.
the late and very great Robin Williams. And, you know, it goes without saying that the entertainment industry globally was absolutely rocked by the death of Robin Williams. And there's a lot to be said about that, but I would also like to say that it's undoubtable that Robin Williams has contributed so much joy and entertainment to the world, and that will never ever pass. And you know, you only have to turn on Mrs. Doubtfire, Dead Poets Society, Aladdin, Hook, you know, countless examples of one person contributing amazing things to the world. I'm going to give this a bit of a crack, the old internet now, which we demonstrated earlier was not working. So without further ado, here is our first song, which is A Friend Like Me. And here we go. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. The time is just 2 minutes past 11 and you're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC with Ray Bonney being entertained by Flynn Turner and Will Centurion. They've both performed in the well-loved musical Aladdin. And there was a song from Aladdin.
Yep.
Friend Like Me. We're all friends.
Yeah.
Like me. Best friends. Now, thank you again for both coming on the show. And your mum just came into the studio and she was all flushed with pride, and I think she'd been crying a little bit out there. I'm not sure why that was.
Tears of joy.
I asked her if I wanted a monkey. I want a monkey now.
Yes, and again, I apologise for whatever I say on air that might have expectations afterwards. But welcome back. In this segment, Flynn, I want to focus a little bit more on Will, because Will's got a lot to talk about. And I know Will's story, but his experience of through his career in entertainment and where that started, because you didn't actually start training until you were about 18.
That's right.
And could you tell a little bit about that backstory around some of that resistance that you had?
So I guess the coming from a migrant family, I think the priority was education and stability. So the idea of going into the performing arts was one that wasn't very supported at the time, probably because it was so far removed from everything that we knew. So although I grew up doing lots of cultural dances like salsa and tango, and some folkloric dances from other places in South America, I never sort of did any professional training till 18. So I did 3 years all up, 1 year in Sydney and 2 years in Melbourne, and I pretty much spent that entire time catching up on what everyone else had sort of done from about the age of 6 or 7. So it was quite a journey and quite a challenge at the same time.
Wow. And so then to starting your training, what was it that was the catalyst for that?
I think movement and music is something that's sort of in our blood culturally. So it was something that I always had a passion for. And I don't know, I guess as I sort of got into my mid to late teens, I started to realize that the academic route wasn't really my call and my calling. And so it was about performing, and it was about being on stage, and it was about telling stories. And so I quickly realized that that's what I wanted to pursue.
Was it hard to get your first big break?
That's a good question. Well, I finished my 3 years of training, which is not a lot at all. And then I fearlessly kind of put myself out there, and the first gig that I got actually took me to Europe. So I ended up moving to Paris, and then performing in Germany for 6 months. And so it's not that it was hard to book. It was just I had to be courageous enough to put myself out there. And so I'm glad that I did, because that's why the opportunity came to fruition.
Well, if you could compare the Australian stage to the European stage, is it different?
Yes. I think there's a lot more support sort of in Europe for the arts. It's sort of integral to their culture. They love opera, they love classical music, they love theatre, they love music theatre, they love contemporary dance. So there's lots of opportunities there, and there's lots of support for it. And so it was nice to sort of be in Europe for 8 years and just feel as though you really are contributing to the community and feeling that back.
So you're sitting next to Flynn here, who's just turned 11 years old and had his first big break, which clearly you've loved and done very well with. And when you hear Will speaking about doing this thing overseas, in Paris, in Germany, and the UK, how does that make you feel about perhaps walking down that path?
Maybe. I need to think about it, because...
Well, think about it now. Give me an answer before the end of the show.
I have no clue. I might do a little bit of acting and a little bit of like Bondi Rescue, because I want to do some Bondi Rescue as well.
I did hear that through your mum, that's one of your ambitions, is to be a surf lifesaver.
Yeah, but I might do some acting as well.
Great.
Well,
Two hats.
It's something that Will and I have spoken about a lot in our work in mental health of the Australian entertainment industry, that it's very important, probably for any industry really, to have plan A, and another 10 plan A's. So what you're suggesting is really, really healthy, to always have something to fall back on. And I am jumping a little bit forward here with Will, but when Will recognised that he'd, had his fair share of the entertainment profession as a performer, I'm going to let you tell people what you did next with that, Will.
Yeah, so I got to the tail end of my 20 years on stage, and I realised that I guess I wanted something more. I kind of wanted to develop the other side of my brain, and I was quite interested in either social work or in counselling or in psychology. And so I took myself off to the Australian College of Applied Psychology, and I did a diploma in counselling while I was on tour. And then I loved that so much that I went into the bachelor course and completed another 3 years of study. So yeah, I loved psychology. I loved understanding people and you know, having insight into the way they think, into the way that they feel, into the way that they respond. And so you know, it was hard work. I used to finish college and run around the corner to the theatre with my backpack on and go in and go straight to warm up and then go and do a show.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a juggling act, but I'm glad I did it.
If you could compare when you were just solely performing as opposed to, you know, honing this new craft in being a support person within the industry, did you find it easier to do the acting or the performing bit whilst you were having this new insight into being a support person, but also better supporting yourself?
I think that was the golden
sounded really
thing.
Confusing.
No, I understood myself a lot better. I became a lot more aware of the choices I was making, the behaviours that I was living by, the values that I had, and so it was eye-opening, but it was conflicting as well, because I started to realise that with that awareness, I started to realise that the performing arts just didn't do it for me as much as it used to, and so I desired something else. And there was a bit of conflict there because no one likes to be in limbo. But I kind of needed that shift to happen in order to move closer to what actually did make me happy.
Yes. And having only met you last year and knowing each other for 12 months, to be able to see you in that, under that lens where you are contributing to the industry that supported you and helped you flourish. But you know, I've seen you counsel people within the industry, especially dance is a big audience for you.
Yeah, so I work with a lot of youth now.
Yes.
A lot of performing arts youth, but predominantly focus on sort of dancers, singers, actors, musicians, anyone that sort of is creative.
Give us some examples of places where you've done workshops or one-on-one stuff, just to give our audience an idea of who you are now.
So I think I've done about 700 workshops to about 760 students across Australia.
765.
Across New South Wales and Victoria. So I go into a lot of performing arts schools now. So I've gone into sort of Ministry of Dance. I've gone into ShowFit. I've gone into Brent Street. I've gone into VCA and had chats with them. I've been fortunate enough to be allowed into some of these amazing performing arts institutions to be able to work directly with youth and give them sort of counselling and life coaching resources to help them manage their thoughts and feelings and help them be clearer about what their values are and where they want to get to.
This is a no-brainer for me, but does your experience having worked in the industry help you better understand and empathise with the people that you're working with now? Absolutely.
I think that's the thing that connects me to them the most, is that I'm looking at them with the same eyes that they're looking at me. We are a particular breed. We have a particular level of vulnerability and sensitivity, and understanding that and being able to create resources and services that are relevant and that are evidence-based goes a long way in terms of the way that they can support themselves.
We are going to speak in the last segment of the show about the work that we do at Entertainment Assist, especially through our intermission training. That's, you know, there it exists to help better support people within the entertainment industry, but also people coming into the entertainment industry, so that early intervention, the generational change. But when we're sitting next to somebody like Flynn here, who's speaking very enthusiastically about his experience, but also having instinctively other plans to do other things, but not saying I can only do one, what does that mean to you in terms of your journey?
I think it's a great philosophy to think that you can have more than one hat. Careers have changed. You know, we used to live in a world where you had one profession for life. And I think now we're fortunate enough to be able to have lots of different hats, and not so much like a fallback plan, but just something else that you're passionate about that can work alongside what you're currently doing. I think the more that you spread your net, the less likely you are to be impacted by the fact that maybe one isn't coming to fruition exactly the way that you want it to.
Yes.
So variety and choices and options, that's empowerment and that's freedom. And I think it's sort of really important to not put all of your eggs in one basket.
Because they'll all break and you get an omelette, which isn't too bad, really, if you like eggs. But recently, one of our other industry partners, Ben Steele, ex-Home and Away, who had his own experience of mental health challenge coming out of that, and he recently produced a documentary called The Show Must Go On. And he has appeared here at 3WBC as well. But there's a really great part in it when Sam Neill is talking about how he identifies with his profession. And, you know, he has the very strong sense of imposter syndrome that we speak about. Bless you.
Thank you.
And he talks about how he defines himself not as an actor, but as Sam Neill, who sometimes acts.
Yep.
And that's the thing that he holds himself to, is that he's not defined by being an actor, rather than, you know, he's a pig farmer in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Who sometimes does a bit of acting and gets probably paid quite handsomely for it too.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that it's what we do, not who we are.
Yes.
It's our profession, it's our job, it's a skill set.
Yes.
It's not the definition of who you are as a person.
Yes. I'm interested, Flynn, to ask you about when you were producing Aladdin. You said you had to jam this all into the last term of school. Did they allow you time outside of the classroom, or was it additional time after school?
Well, sometimes the teacher, like the music teacher, would take me to, like, the class that was doing one jump. He would take me there because I was singing one jump.
No, but I mean, did you get out of maths or anything like that, is what I'm asking.
Oh, I like maths, but sometimes I got out of writing and stuff, which was good.
Well, Rory, my 11-year-old son, you and Rory are almost twins.
Yep.
Flynn's birthday was on the 3rd of January and Rory's is on the 6th, and they both turned 11. Now, Rory's greatest dread is ever having to pick up a pen and write anything down. He can talk to the cows, come home, he can tell you a story, but to write it down, is it like that for you?
Yes, it is. Like, I have good ideas, but I just can't be bothered writing them down.
Well, here's a question for you that I don't really have an answer to, but I've grown up in we practically had, quill pens when I was a little girl. So I've grown up with writing, and then technology didn't come to my doorstep until I was probably in my 20s. So I've had a bit of both. But I can understand that your generation, who's been raised on technology, writing's almost redundant. And that's probably a big word for you, but is that the frustration that you don't really need to write when you've got a computer?
I think writing on the iPad or, like, the computer is easier than just writing it.
So when you say writing, like, are you talking about typing or actually writing with a...
I'd rather type than actual write.
Yes.
And here's a trick that I learned in year 1. If your hands ever sore, put them against the table and push them on them, and then it, like, helps them get better, and you can just write again. But
well, there you go.
It's
you
a bit
could
of
be
a self-care tip.
Physiotherapist. There's another career for you. Get rid of that RSI from typing too much. But these little strategies are important that we learn them, because our body does deteriorate as we get older. Here's a perfect example. Haven't always looked like
Makes
this.
two of us.
I was going to say, Will, given 20 years, what impact did that have on your body, given that you're singing, dancing and using your body in all different ways?
It's hard work. It's hard work physically, it's hard work emotionally, it's hard work spiritually. So it as you get older, it does impact on you more. And, I think I was becoming sort of more prone to injury. I had a few vocal bleeds, some lower back issues.
When you say vocal bleeding, does blood come out of your mouth?
No,
right,
it just means, like some bruising on your vocal cords.
Handy if you're playing Dracula.
Yeah. It doesn't feel great, but it happens because we are human. We're not robots, and we all we all get hurt sometimes.
Yes.
So yeah, I think as I got older, I realised that I was 40 and that grueling schedule of 8 shows a week was becoming harder to commit to, and so yeah, I guess I became aware of the fact that it was time to transition into something else.
What about you, Flynn? Did you feel any physical wearing over the 4 nights that you performed?
3.
3. Did you do dancing as well as part of that?
A few dancing, yes.
Yeah, in those floppy old pants you had on.
They weren't floppy, they were okay.
Did you get to keep them?
No.
Oh.
But did I get to keep anything? I don't know, actually.
Did you get a sword?
Fake.
Oh. Made out of what?
Plastic.
All right.
I did get hurt at one point, stubbed my toe.
Oh, yeah, that's when you were breaking a leg.
Ouch.
And I also, not relating to this, I did crash on the skate park.
Oh, well, you can inject that. Tell us all about that.
I was going down a ramp. My leg was at the back of the skateboard.
Yes.
Pushed, my leg flipped the skateboard, went on my back.
And then what happened?
I've got a bruise right here.
Okay, we'll have a look at that in the break, shall we?
Yeah.
We're not quite ready to go to a break yet, but I think when we do come back, we might have some special caller phoning in. Don't know who that might be at the moment, but stay tuned for that.
Yep.
But we do have a few more questions. In fact, I would like you to ask Will a question about anything.
Okay.
If he ever crashed at the skate park.
If you ever forgot your lines, what would you do? Would you not talk, or would you just make something up?
Panic is probably the first place that I went to. And then just trying to get back on the train as quickly as possible, but also relying on my castmates, and the other people that I was sharing the stage with to help maintain sort of the flow of the scene. It's called teamwork, and no one's perfect, and we're human, and we all, stumble sometimes. And so it was just nice to be in a supportive environment where people are aware of each other and people are aware of what the needs are, and so you work as a team to keep the show going.
Another question is, were you in the actual Aladdin movie? You look like you're the guy who was in the actual Aladdin movie.
I don't think they'd cast me, not with all of this grey hair. I don't think so.
Well,
a bit too.
Yeah, anyone, just Google Will Centurion with an O, and he's a very, very nice looking man.
I think a bit too salt and pepper for Aladdin in the film, but no. I just did the stage show. I just did the Aussie tour.
Yep. Did any people ever be mean to you along the way of your acting?
Did any?
Okay, have we got a spare hour here?
All right, here we go. That's an interesting
Starting
question.
at A. Andrew.
Yes. There is conflict in our industry because there are different personalities and different approaches and different levels of emotional and social intelligence. And so, things were said and done from time to time that had a massive impact on me emotionally or psychologically. And so, you try to navigate through those moments and navigate around those people as much as you possibly can.
That was very politically correct of you and very kind of how you posed that. And you and I have spoken in detail about some of those experiences. And, what Will's describing is sometimes not just a one-off event, but when you're doing 8 shows in a row, day after day, it can become quite relentless. And that's when we see people literally breaking. Mm-hmm. And I think you literally did break.
I did.
At some stage. And, very lucky that, Will was able to create I guess, levels of support around him and understanding of himself where he was able to, manage as best as he could throughout that. So it's really important for anyone that is listening in, that's, again, any industry, that we do have a support network around us. So when things change, what do we do? And, that could be going to the skate park. It doesn't have to be people. Instinctively, we think about people, but what are your support mechanisms, and what would you describe as one of your main ones getting through that period of your life?
I think family was really important. I needed to sort of lean into family. Also, emotional support. So I relied on my partner a lot to sort of get me through. But honestly, my biggest help was seeing a psychologist, getting some mental health support. Being able to be in a space where I could just tell it like it is, unfiltered, without fear of being judged, knowing that I was being understood and knowing that there was empathy there. That helped me so much, because without being able to shift some of this stuff that was like bubbling and boiling inside me, I would have exploded. I needed to rely on some really, really good support systems to get me through some really, really tough times.
Because not always the industry does support how people are feeling, and in industries like entertainment, it's very fast, and disclosing a mental health condition can be used against you. You might not get the role, or you might not continue in the role. And I'm wondering what it's like in your generation, Flynn, how you were supported by the school and your family. It's as fun as it all sounds, I'm sure it was very hard sometimes.
Yes, it was actually hard sometimes, but it got easier along the way. And along the way, like, these teachers, our music teachers, gave us these flyers. We handed them to people so they could come to the show.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
What else did you do to manage your own self during that time?
Well, I got interviewed at the...
Take your hand away from your face.
I got interviewed at, community time. Yeah, I got interviewed. I also, every Wednesday, all the, main characters went to rehearsal for 3 weeks. That was a little hard because we had basketball, but we got through it.
Yeah. So you're managing lots of things at the same time.
Yeah.
Did you go home and cuddle a pet or something like that? Because you live on a really nice property up in Emerald, don't you?
I forgot. I didn't hear what you said properly.
Would you, to help support yourself, would you go home and maybe cuddle your dog or cat or...
Well, I probably couldn't cuddle my dog because she'd probably bite me because she's old. But I'd probably just go and... my mum would make me rehearse my lines, so I did that.
She's like that, isn't she?
Yes, yeah. She is.
I remember working with her. It was tough.
Yeah, so I practiced my lines and we got through it all together and, yeah.
Well, there is family again.
Yeah.
And, not everyone is lucky enough to have families or friends around them, and, finding those other avenues of support is important. And we are going to speak about that in more detail in the last segment of where to go and what to do when, because that does happen, and you might learn a lot from this show.
Yep.
How are you feeling about the show, Flynn, today?
I was nervous at first, but now I'm not.
Why aren't you nervous?
Because, well, I've been talking for a while. I'm used to speaking on microphones now. Every time I go on, live stuff, I get nervous, but once I've done a few minutes of it, I don't get nervous.
Do you know I purposely mess up the first part of the show just to demonstrate to you that it doesn't have to be perfect and that I also are fallible? How was that for a segue out of that mistake?
I love that. And I love what you said, Flynn. It's remembering that everything that you're going through is temporary.
Yep.
And that you don't always stay in the same place, and that it changes and it gets better.
Yep.
And I paused a little then because I agree with, living in the moment and, appreciating moments, but it's not always like that for everyone, and it can feel like you're 8 shows week after week, day after day, can sometimes feel like forever. And so it's not disputing that that might not be a feeling, but then what do we do? What are our options? What are our pathways of support that we can do to enable ourselves to manage better without, bless you again,
Thank you.
without relying on, other things, people to support us, because sometimes it's just not there. But I know something that helped support you, music.
Absolutely.
So one thing that I have on the show is a guest special song request, which kind of rhymes a little bit. And so I ask my guests, tell me tell me a favourite song or a song that means something to you, so we can intro that. And Will, we've got one of yours loaded next. And could you tell us what this song means to you?
I love this song. It makes me feel so good. I'll play this song in my apartment and I'll dance around by myself and do a little bit of self-care that way and just let myself escape. And it's nice to be supported by music and lyrics and understand that what you're going through is a shared experience.
And what is the song called?
I've just blanked.
It's Catch and Release.
It's Catch and Release. There we go. It's Catch and Release by Matt Simon.
Yes, and he explains that, some people just go for a run or some people go and, sing out loud, but this song was something that he wrote specifically around catching a problem and then releasing it. So enjoy this song. You're listening to 94.1 FM. It's 3WBC. Don't go away. Oh, what a beautiful song. Welcome back. The time is just 33 minutes past 11. You're with Ray Bonney, joined by Flynn Turner and Will Centurion, sharing their experiences of performing in musical theatre. Now, I did promise that we might have a special guest phoning in, and whilst we're in the break, we did manage to get a young lady on the phone who I understand was one of your co-cast in Aladdin, and she played the genie. Welcome to the show, Millie.
Hi.
Oh, there you are, loud and clear. Managed not to mess that one up. Go, Ray. Welcome to the show, Millie.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. Say hello to Will Centurion.
Hi, Will.
Hi, Millie.
And say hello to your friend Flynn.
Hey, Flynn.
Hey.
Now, who's got the first question for Millie? Make it hard. Well, no blank air, please. Come on, guys.
Okay. So, Millie, tell me about your favourite moment on stage in the role that you played.
My favourite moment on stage was probably when I did Friend Like Me, because I had all my classmates on the stage and I had Flynn on stage with me.
Oh, well, did you hear us play that song earlier in the show, Millie?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. So you've been listening in.
Mhm.
What's your favourite part of the show so far?
When Flynn was talking about his skateboard incident.
Nothing to do with musical theatre at all. We love this. This is great radio. Now, Millie, one thing that Flynn talked about and Will talked about as well is some things that throw you off when you're on stage is seeing your parents in the front row. What was it like for you seeing your parents in the audience?
It was kind of embarrassing.
But did they cheer you on?
Yes, they all did.
And do you have some plans, Millie, to take this acting thing a little bit further in your career when you grow up?
I think I might.
What other things would you like to do?
I might want to be in, I really want to be in a movie.
Yes.
When I'm older.
Yep, that would be great. Well, you just watch out and, see what's coming up. Join a good casting agency. Now, Flynn, you said that you had a few questions for Millie.
What was the worst part for you?
Well...
Well, look, we'll help you a little bit. This is my go-to question, Millie. Did you ever need to go to the toilet when you're on stage?
Yes, I did.
There you go. See, that's my skill. You open up a good old conversation. What was that like?
Well, it was really annoying because I was on in the next scene, and I had to go, and then I had to just keep it in until I could actually go.
And did that inhibit your ability to act really well, or did it make it even better?
It made it even better.
Yep, there you go. Everyone get a full bladder, get yourself on stage, and you're going to rock it.
Yep.
Advice from Millie, grade 6. Oh, you'll be in grade 6 this year, won't you?
No, grade 5.
Oh,
5.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Well, Rory, who is the same age, is going into grade 6 next year.
Oh.
Look, I sent him to school early. I'd had
yeah.
enough of him by that stage. So,
Yep.
off to school you go. Will, have you thought of any more questions for Millie?
Well, she didn't answer my question
Oh,
yet.
didn't she? What was that?
What was the worst part for her?
Oh, that's right. She couldn't think of anything, could she? Which, going to the toilet, well, that was good.
pretty-
Anything
Yeah.
else you
Pretty
can
bad.
think of, Millie?
Um,
No.
when I forgot my line right before I did my song.
That'd do it.
Oh, you forgot your lines when you did your song?
Yeah.
Oh, and what happened there?
After the scene, people were telling me that I forgot my line, and it went into my mic, and it came out on the speakers.
Oh, they always want to tell you what you did wrong, don't they? They won't talk
Yeah.
about the other 2 hours of brilliance you just performed. Yes, that's people for
Everyone's
you,
a
Millie.
critic.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's why we have bloopers and things like that. Do you have any questions for Will, Millie?
Yes, I do.
Off you go.
Great.
He loves a question.
I just wanted to know if you have any advice for any upcoming actors who are going to do some shows.
For any upcoming actors who are going to do some
I
shows.
think she's speaking about herself here when she becomes a famous movie star.
Okay.
Yep.
What's my advice? Rather than advice, I would probably say that it would be helpful to know what it is that you're doing. So make sure you do your research, that you understand the character, that you understand the story that they're a part of. Homework is good, so know your lines. And what else? Just put yourself out there and take as many creative risks as you can, because you might discover something really wonderful and really beautiful and really special about yourself that you didn't know.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
It's cool.
That's pretty cool. And I would say on the end of that, be kind.
Mm.
And that is all. Kindness and care. Can't beat it, Millie.
Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to talk a little bit more now, Millie, about how we can better support ourselves in the entertainment industry. So we're going to let you go, and thank you very much for appearing here on our show at 3WBC.
Very fun.
Well, good. You can come on any time. We'll do a whole show together if you want. You just give me a call. Does anyone have any parting words for Millie?
I don't know.
What about goodbye?
See you at school, I guess.
See you at school.
Good luck, Millie.
Good luck in grade 5 and everything you do. See you, Millie.
you.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.
And that was Millie. She played the genie in the 2019 school production. We've not even named your school. Are we allowed to do that?
I'll let it happen.
Well, I don't know what it is.
It's Beacon Hills College, Pakenham.
Jeepers, they're a big
Oh,
school,
wow.
aren't they?
Yep, we are.
Yeah, we need to get down there, because one thing that Will and I did in 2019 is we performed together as well.
We did.
So we have mentioned a few times the health promotions charity Entertainment Assist, and Entertainment Assist poised to support the mental health of entertainment industry workers here in Australia. And that's been happening for the last 10 years. But in the last year, we've really stepped up to become more of less of an awareness-raising organisation and more to an action organisation. So my role there is I came in to write, develop and deliver a program called Intermission, which is mental health training specifically for entertainers in Australia, and it's based on world first research that was conducted in 2015 by Entertainment Assist alongside the Victorian College of the Arts, and also Vic Uni, and we mentioned it earlier in the program, the results have been really, really compelling. And, you know, I've learned a lot about the industry in terms of how big it is and how many people play a role. And so the program Intermission, you know, we've been everywhere from Sydney Opera House, we've been to the Melbourne Convention Centre, we've been to many arts and cultural centres. Well, I was saving that till last. So, you know, a lot of our work is in enabling people to manage better, but also that generational change and systemic change and early intervention. Will and I had the privilege of addressing the film and TV and animation students at Swinburne University, and we got across quite a lot of them, and it was our first time presenting together. And part of the training is that there's one module where I'll bring an industry expert like Will in to share a bit about their lived experience and to be able to give a real live example of what it feels like to be in that specific place. But it ended up that Will just started presenting the entire 4-hour workshop alongside me because we just got along so well together. And guess what? We made everyone laugh.
Obviously.
Yes. But it's very good training around how to manage your mental health better and also recognise change within others. And it's, you know, even though it's based on the research and some compelling facts, it's all about a really positive approach to a fantastic industry. And what was your experience, Will?
I had a great time. We had a hoot.
We did.
I love you know, sort of collaborating with Entertainment Assist. I think what separates this organisation from the others is that it's meeting people at a grassroots level.
Yes.
I think it's actually about creating relationships between support service and people, and also, as you said, sort of very much about you know, prevention rather than damage control.
Yes.
You know, I just think it's a wonderful organisation that empowers people in the entertainment industry to be able to support themselves as well as know what resources they can access.
Yes, and it is like it's one of a kind training because every single setting that we enter, whether it is, you know, a university or the Opera House or a convention centre, could be NICA, NIDA, WAPA, all of those, you know, big chunky clunky organisations, we adapt Intermission to suit the audience. So just say we're dealing with roadies or lighting people or technical people, Intermission will be written specifically for that setting because they're very different to that of, you know, A-list actors or dancers or even, you know, orchestra people. They're all different and need a different approach. So that's what that's all about. But Entertainment Assist, we are very, very enthusiastic about making this generational change. So if you want to know any more about us, you can look us up at Entertainment Assist. We're governed by a board of directors and we're committed to making that change. But also we've formed an alliance which is called the Australian Alliance for Wellness in Entertainment, OR. So instead of, you know, just us being industry experts based on our research, OR is a collective of cross-sector and peer initiatives where we're represented by organisations like the Arts Wellbeing Collective, based at the Arts Centre here in Melbourne, which is a fantastic organisation who create resources specifically for live performance. And you're quite aware of them. The Australian Society of Performing Arts, Healthcare, Live Performance Australia, Media Entertainment and Arts Alliance, Music Australia, Screen Producers Australia, and also the Australian Council of Deans and Directors of Creative Arts all sit on this collective to help us make better informed decisions to impact the industry.
It's a nice little ecosystem.
It is. It is. And it takes a few people to drive it. So, you know, there's other ways, I guess, the entertainment industry can support each other.
Yep.
What do you think of that, Flynn? Because you're just gagging to say something else, aren't you?
Well, I think it's a good idea because lots of people can join and learn some stuff.
Yes, well, you can join, or
Right.
if you jump on the internet, that old thing,
That World Wide Web.
and you can join or AAWE and join for free. And become part of this group where you can have a voice. So you
Fabulous.
get your mum to help you with that, and you might be able to, some of the things that you spoke about today, if people haven't listened in, I think they would love to hear what you have to say about your experience. There you go. And are you sneezing?
Yep.
Other ways the industry is supported, and again, I don't mean this to sound political, but the industry unfortunately doesn't get a lot of funding to support the many, many, many people of diversity that sit within it. So we really have to try very hard about supporting each other. But there are a few other organisations like the Actors Benevolent Funds and Trusts that they're a collective of all sorts of Actors Benevolent Fund New South Wales. There's one in Queensland, Victoria. There's Support Act, which is a fund that exists to assist singers, songwriters, composers, musicians, roadies, techies, managers, and staffers, and lots of different things like financial support, mental health support, all kinds of things. It's not enough, but it's something. Have you called upon any of these support services, Will, or referred people to them before?
Yeah, so I did the art of asking, and I reached out to the Actors Benevolent Fund and expressed my interest to collaborate with them. And so I offered my counselling and life coaching services for them to engage in. If there's a performer or anyone under their care that needs support. So it's great that we're moving into a phase where these are the types of conversations that we're having, and these resources are being formed and they're being used to support people who do a lot for this country.
Yes. And it's unfortunate that you know the expectation that entertainment industry is something that's glitzy and it's glamorous, but it's not a real job. We at Entertainment Assist, we have a seat at the Small Business Australia round table where we address the fact that many people within the entertainment industry are small business owners. And, they're the ones that don't recognise that they can get better support through running a small business and how to run a small business. So anyone that's listening in that is in the entertainment industry, that lens you put over to be a small business can, just hook you up with better support and understanding around how to run that particular space, which is interesting. The Walkley Foundation also is an organisation established by a bequest from Sir William Gaston Walkley, and it provides options for donations and bequests that aim to benefit new generations of journalists. So the
Wow.
Walkley Awards, I haven't had one myself in my journalistic.
There's still
my
time.
role on radio journalism, but it's another option. Now, I just also wanted to mention that if you want to give us some feedback, you can give that directly to me at my Facebook page. So if you just type up Ray Bonney, that's RAEBONNEY, you'll get me and send me a message. I also have a YouTube channel where all of the shows are reproduced. Yeah, I'm pretty famous, Flynn. I saw you perk up a bit there.
I did not know that.
I was having a discussion with Rory on the way in, and he was talking about this guy who's a YouTuber. I said, I'm a YouTuber.
You are.
And he just sort of scoffed at me and said, how many million subscribers do you have? I've got 65.
65 what? Million?
I wish. I don't know if 65 million people are all that interested in what I've got to say. I've got 66 now.
Fabulous.
1,000?
No, just that. But if you subscribe, I'll have 67.
At least you're beating me.
So give us some feedback. Will, is there a place where people can give you feedback?
Yep. You can find me on social media as well. So my social media handle is at Mr. Will Centurion Official. So you can find me on Facebook or on Instagram.
And that's Centurion with an O.
That's right.
Centurion.
As in Roman centurion,
yes.
correct?
Somebody asked me the other day if it's your real name.
It is.
Or is it your stage name?
No, it's I was definitely blessed.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool name. Because people ask, because my real name's Raylene. Ray's my stage name. Coming up next at 12 noon is the divine Paula Hogg. I can see she's setting up there in Studio One. She's given us a bit of a wave. We'll wave back to her. And she'll be rolling out an entire lazy Sunday afternoon of music and banter bound to get you snoozing on the couch, or, well, half snoozing so you can hear her music. 3WBC, we are a station that is occupied by volunteers. So all of our presenters, we've got about 200 presenters who are all volunteers, and our staff volunteer their time as well. And, community is something that is so terribly important. And, think about, we don't have to, take, a huge stage all the time. We can, but always remember that small stage, which is your community, is where you can really, really add benefit. So if Lee and I can imagine that, with your, ability to become a surf lifesaver, save people's lives only at Bondi, or would you do it anywhere else?
Mainly Bondi, because there's, I don't know, probably because it gives me more of a challenge because there's more rips there. And
rips? Well,
Wow.
You go to Woolamai. Woolamai is the most dangerous surf beach in the world, and that's just at Phillip Island.
well, I don't know, I need to decide.
I think we need to do a bit of research there. I think you've just been seduced by the tally, haven't you? Bondi Rescue, is that the one you watch?
Yeah.
Or Bondi Vet? Is there, Bondi's very, very famous, isn't it? If any of our discussions today have brought up uncomfortable feelings for anyone who's listening in, please remember help is there. And here's a few options for further support. So Lifeline is 131114. Suicide callback service is 1300 659 467. And of course, emergency services here in Australia is 000, not 999, as again, we get seduced by American tally, don't we? 999. Would you know what to call if you were in an emergency, Flynn?
If I was in America, 911.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh,
But in Australia, 000.
well done. Do you know, once when I was working with your mum at a particular organisation, there was a girl who diverted her phone, and that means if you're not at your desk, you send all of your calls to the receptionist. And the receptionist's number was, I think it was 111 or something, but this girl diverted her phone to 000. So anyone that rang in was going straight to emergency services.
Oh, no.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because we discovered that early on.
Oh, no.
That's right.
My mum should be laughing now.
Yes, she would be. I think she'll be relieved when this show's over. But we've still got 5 minutes to really mess things up. So what do you think we can do?
Sing off.
Will won't, really.
Oh, Lord.
Would you?
Yeah, maybe.
Would you have a crack?
Okay.
What would you sing?
The song that I chose.
Okay. Do we have to count you in or something?
Sure.
Can you do that? Because I don't know how to do that. I just know people say it.
We would say a 5, 6, 7, 8.
I need the song for it.
Right, okay. So you don't know the words to anything.
Sort of. I sort of do, but I need the music with it.
Okay, well, let's scrap that idea. Thanks. Like the crowd's out there just going, oh. Well, I've got a question for you. This is
Okay.
my trademark question.
Okay.
What does it feel like being you today?
Feels good. I am actually really proud of myself. I know my family at my house and my mum are all very proud of me.
I'm very proud of you. I think you're one of the best guests I've ever had here at 3WBC. And do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
I want to give a shout out to my family and all of my friends that go to school with me.
Especially the ones that said boo, because boo to you.
They're not my friends.
Oh.
They're younger than me.
Oh, there you go. What about you, Will? What does it feel like being you today?
I feel very privileged and very content and fortunate to be here and supported. This was a wonderful experience.
Have you been on radio much before?
I've done a couple of radio interviews.
Yes.
But this has to be one of my favourite.
Of course you have to say that because I'm still controlling the panel here. And would you like to give a shout out to anyone special in your life or not particularly special?
Yeah, I guess my biggest shout out goes to my partner Ross.
Ross, the boss. Now, can you just tell everyone what Ross is doing at the moment?
So Ross is an incredibly talented performer who is currently playing Pig 1 in Shrek.
Pig 1.
The role of a lifetime. And yeah, I guess my admiration and gratitude goes out to Ross because I would not be able to do this without him.
Well, I agree because Will and I do spend an extraordinary amount of time together supporting each other in so many things. And so I've not yet met Ross, but I do know what a fabulous support he is to you and vice versa. So Shrek's currently in Sydney.
Yep, they just opened in Sydney.
Yeah, and you saw the opening?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I want to go see the donkey.
Well, when it comes to Melbourne, you should come and see Shrek in Melbourne because you'll see pig number 1 is Ross.
That's right.
I thought it was pig number 2.
Oh.
No, he's Pig 1.
Pig 1.
Oh.
Pig 1. And Will made a T-shirt for him for Christmas with Pig 1 on it.
That he's still yet to wear. Yeah.
I'll be happy to wear it.
Yeah. Okay, we're running out of time. Paul is there going, can you guys please get off air? But thank you so much for both being on the show today and making it such an entertaining, enjoyable and just all-round hilarious experience for everyone. The accolades are flowing in, actually. I did see something coming in. We've got time quickly because I'm going to play a bit of your song as well, Flynn. This person has just emailed in saying, thank you for bringing, Janine, thank you for bringing these talented and amazing boys to the airwaves. I loved listening to their experiences and wonder if they would consider doing something together on stage one day.
Oh.
Well, let's take that one off air, shall we? Well, Janine's asked that.
Maybe.
Now, I'll be back on Sunday, the 9th of February, speaking with another talented young man, this time from the not-so-entertaining industry of recruitment and its impact on the mental health of job seekers, employers and employees. So, Flynn, you'll be taking us out today with your special guest song request. Special guest song request. There you go. Your mum did some editing of your original choices and we landed this. It's a true boy band bonanza. So can you tell us what it is?
Well, it's a song called Big Time Rush.
Yep.
And it's by Big Time Rush.
Yep. And that's a Nickelodeon program where these 4 young lads made it pretty big. So without further ado, thanks again. Take care, everyone. Remember, it really is okay not to be okay.
And Big Time Rush, if you're out there, your music is great.
There we go. See ya.